Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TTV Modcast, episode 12.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Alright, so let's get to our name stuff. So, I'm Waj.
I'm Political Slime.
I'm John Smith.
And I'm Lego Master 1378.
Today, we're gonna talk Avatar. Not the movie with the blue people and the aliens, no. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah, so it is regarded as one of the best shows of all time, I'd say, in terms of cartoon shows in recent history. I think we all generally like the show a lot. So,
definitely. I think that one of the biggest reasons why Avatar is generally accepted as one of the best cartoons of all time is the characters. And, what do you guys think works so well with the characters? Because it's a kid's show, and these are basically 12, 14, 15-year-old kids who are going on an adventure. But what makes it work?
They treat them not like adults, but they have, this is kind of a cliche thing to say, but they have layers to them. Like, Zuko is probably the easiest to explain. When you first see him, you think he's just an edgy teenager, standard villain, but then you find out more about him, you find out, he's been burned literally by his family, and he's trying to regain his honor, and there's a lot more to him than just which is how he seems at first.
yeah.
I've heard people criticize that part of the series, actually. I remember seeing someone on a forum who watched the first couple episodes of season 1 and wanted to stop watching because they said Zuko wasn't a good enough villain.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Is it?
his whole real transformation comes in season 2, really, so it's
Yeah.
I mean,
We get hints of it in the season 1 finale, I think.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, I guess it's more expounded upon in basically the whole of season 2.
Most of the characters go through a kind of transformation like that. They change, they evolve, they grow, right?
Yep.
I just wanted to say that I feel like because I spent a lot of time in the Avatar fandom when I was younger. The Avatar Wikia, the actual fan-made Wikia for Avatar: The Last Airbender, is by far one of the best fan Wikia sites out there. It's got some really, really high-quality articles. I haven't been on their forums much, but back when I was a lot younger and browsing the wiki, there was a lot of good stuff being said in the comment sections. But one of the things that I noticed some people criticizing is Katara as a character. The character of Katara, people say, doesn't have nearly as much evolution as any of the other really main members of Team Avatar, and people even say that she's kind of boring and flat. What do you guys think of that?
Maybe she's not quite as dynamic as the other characters, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think part of the reason Katara doesn't seem as dynamic as the other characters is because she's a little bit more mature at the start.
Yeah. She has a lot of pain and just because when you realize her backstory, we get hints of it before the Southern Raiders, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, though I guess there's quite a large gap between, because she mentions that in the second or first episode, her whole backstory, and then it isn't really brought up a whole lot until season 3, episode 16, which is the Southern Raiders, because that's when her character arc resolves, her whole issue with her mother and the Fire Nation and how she perceives them. Now
that you mention it, season 3 has a lot of really good character moments for Katara. There's the Runaway, where she has a really interesting dynamic with Ta, and that also plays on her whole loss of her mother, because she and Sokka lost their mother to the Fire Nation, and as a result, Katara kind of started to become more mature because she needed to be. And then she kind of butts heads with Toph in that episode, and you just really see this great moment of growth and realization for her. Like you said, there's also the Southern Raiders, but there's even the one with Hama, the Bloodbender. That whole episode, I feel, is very Katara-centric. But one thing, though, is that have you guys listened very much to the audio commentaries from the creators, Mike and Brian?
I have
not.
Nope.
I didn't even know those existed.
I never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender on Nickelodeon. Since we never had cable, for me and my sister, My sister discovered it through a friend of hers who had all the DVDs and who started lending some of them to my sister. We got the rest of them out from the library. As a result, the first episode that I watched was The Drill, and that got me really interested. And then we watched like the rest of the series completely out of order, which was not a very good thing. Pretty much all of the DVDs that Nickelodeon released have like, I think 5 or 6 audio commentaries per season where the Avatar creators, Mike DeMartinez and Brian Konietzko, along with sometimes a couple of other people from the crew, just talk about the episodes, and they have some very interesting insights on the series. One of which that I want to bring up to you guys is the idea of kind of not only an evolution of the characters in terms of like them growing, but their powers growing. As they're called in the fandom, Bryke, like Mike and Brian, people just call them Bryke as like a short form, put a lot of emphasis on gradually showing the kids practicing and becoming better and better with their powers, and it kind of like automatically ups the ante at every season. And every season finale, you see them do really crazy new things, and then they kind of have those types of skills throughout the season, and then next season finale, they pull out some other crazy stuff. And it provides this constant escalation up to the really crazy crux of Sozin's Comet, where everything, like everyone is at kind of the height of their abilities and has these crazy awesome powers that, of course, look very visually interesting. So what do you guys think of that, about the evolution of the characters' talents? And do you think it's realistic?
I'm not sure if realistic is the right word.
As in, like, in terms of the speed at which they learn some of that stuff, like all of the other avatars master their elements in like, what, years? Aang did it in the space of a couple months.
Yeah, that bothered me a little bit. Though they did kind of say that he wasn't 100% perfectly a master at everything at some point. I think I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, for characters like Katara, at the beginning of the series, she's not really the best waterbender. But, like, she gets better when they get to the North Pole, right? When they meet Master Paku, and then she becomes, like, the best in the class in, like, a few days.
I thought it was a few weeks. I don't know about the timing for that part of the episodes. I feel like it's like Empire Strikes Back in Star Wars, where the actual timing isn't quite what the episode would lead you to believe.
Didn't she find the waterbending scroll?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's not like she didn't have no training beforehand.
That's true.
Not like she's pulling a hole like, Ray, you will remove my bones and go away. Goodbye.
That's true. Season 1, Episode 9, she does get the waterbending scroll from those pirates.
Those are fun characters.
Is there a character in Avatar that isn't fun in some way, shape, or form?
Well, I mean, there's the villains. Most of them aren't very fun.
They're entertaining. Like, no.
Even Ozai is entertaining to you?
Yes, in a way. Not like in a funny haha sort of way, but it's by entertaining I mean engaging.
Okay, yeah. I totally get you there.
That's the whole reason people watch shows, is to be entertained, to be engaged.
Mm-hmm. I understand, yeah. Although, speaking of the waterbending scroll reminds me of one other character that we haven't touched on yet, and I think he's a fan favorite, which is Uncle Iroh. Iroh brings up something for me that I find like extremely great about Avatar, is that it is so quotable. Like, there's so many really, really good lines. Do you guys agree with that? Do you guys think that, in general, just whether it be dramatic lines, like I especially love what Ozai says to Aang at the end of Sozin's Comet, where basically he's talking about like how you're weak just like the rest of your people. They did not deserve to exist in this world, in my world. Prepare to join them, prepare to die. Like, partly that's, I think, because of Mark Hamill and just how awesome he is as a voice actor, but I just find that the writing in Avatar, it was good for kids, but it was just smart.
Oh, yeah. I think one of my favorite lines, I'm probably going to butcher it, but, like, it's by Azula, who is also, like, probably one of my favorite villain characters of many series. It's basically when they're in Ba Sing Se, and they're, like, staging their coup, and she's on the throne, and it's like, the former guy that controlled the Dai Li, Long Feng, is coming up to her, and it's like, oh, you've beaten me at my own game. And it's like, oh, don't flatter yourself. You weren't even a player. It's man. That's so evil. It's such a great Robin.
Azula is an incredible villain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like do Team Avatar ever beat her before season 3? Like, all of their confrontations in season 2, how do they end? Because I'm just wondering, like, how do they? Because that's a problem with a serial children's show is you want to have villains that are engaging, but if you bring them in too often, and of course the heroes always have to win, then how do you keep them a credible threat? I know that that's a big problem in the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show, where originally they had General Grievous be like the main villain, and he just kept on getting like completely, beaten at every single episode, and so they eventually just took him out of the show for a couple seasons. But what happened with Azula?
At least from what I can recall, the episodes in season 2 episode 8 was just the chase, where she has her posse chasing Team Avatar when they're all sleeping, basically, or trying to get to sleep. It basically ends off in like a standoff, and then with their powers combined, make this huge explosion, and she gets away. For the rest of the season, of season 2, yeah, she mostly wins, at least from what I can recall.
In the drill, she gets temporarily...
That's right, the drill.
But that's not her getting bested in direct combat, more that, like, the drill literally explodes in her face when she's trying to go after Aang. And you bring up a good point, Wadge. The end of season 2, the villains win.
That is a very good point. Not a lot of children's media does that.
As I recall, Bryke said that they intentionally modeled the end of season 2 on the end of The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, wow. That doesn't surprise me. I get the feeling that those two are Star Wars fans. Like, they even talked about how in some points in season 3, they had like their little Star Wars references, like say the very brief moment during the Day of Black Sun, Katara and Aang go up against the war balloons and like the war blimps for the first time, and they have like a little, and they literally say it's like a Star Wars style, all of the Fire Nation soldiers shooting everywhere, dodging all over the place with Appa and the glider. Anyway, it's true, the ending has that kind of Empire Strikes Back feel. Now, this is more getting into like the general Avatar geekery. What do you think happened in terms of like, because it's kind of unclear, but what do you guys think happened at the end there with Aang? Do you believe he actually died and was resurrected, or what?
I don't think he died, because if he had died, then the
cycle would have been broken?
Not the cycle would have been... Well,
he was in the Avatar state. You know, that was the whole conflict. It was like Guru Patik. Patik basically tells him, if you are killed in the Avatar state, then...
Didn't Patik say, like, he wouldn't be able to go into the Avatar state at all?
The way I saw it, and this whole aspect of the series can get really debated in fandom circles, what happens, I figure, is that when Aang creates that crystal tent and starts meditating, he is willing to let go of Katara in that moment. He realized in that instance that the only way to save Katara is to put his duty as the Avatar before his like attachment to her.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
The idea of Aang having to let go of Katara in order to free his final chakra, I don't think that means not loving her. I think that means that he needs to put his duty as the Avatar first. The Avatar spirit is the thing that he is ultimately supposed to, and I'm going to use a bit of my like personal spiritual metaphor here. The Avatar spirit is the thing that he's supposed to be in ultimate kind of submission to, and he's supposed to take over him. I don't exactly know how to say it. And if Katara is too important for him, then he's putting his own selfishness, not even his love for Katara, his selfish attachment to Katara before his duty to the Avatar spirit and to the world. That's how I see it.
I thought that was pretty obvious when I watched it.
I don't know. I think people have different interpretations I've seen. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you have such a diverse and large fandom. But anyway.
What, did people think that, like, he's saying, like, I don't love Katara anymore, and then all the Zutara people are like, yes!
Maybe. Although, speaking of Zutara, do we want to get into shipping?
Sure.
What I've realized is that shipping, people who ship, like, really crazy, you call them crack ships, I guess, ones that don't really make a whole lot of sense. They don't care whether those ships are canon or not. They just like pairing characters together for the sake of it. And so, like, some people ship Zuko and Katara because it's not real, I think, and because it's not canon. But I'm just trying to figure out, do you think it has a logical basis for, like, a romantic attachment?
I can kind of understand in concept why some people would ship it. It's like the classic trope of the girl with the bad boy or whatever. But in practice, I never felt like there was any reason for them to be attracted to each other. Especially like when they actually started interacting in season 3.
But what about, like the whole Southern Raiders episode? Huh?
that didn't feel romantic to me. It felt like all Katara cared about was getting revenge for her mother, and she was just using Zuko as a means to get that.
I never thought about that. That's actually kind of selfish.
That's how it felt to me.
That's even reinforced more by the fact that this is Katara in season 3 especially is coming off the coattails of Zuko literally betraying her at the end of season 2.
Right.
Which,
yeah.
like, there's this whole, like, building up of trust of, like, oh, well, he's the villain, but maybe he isn't that bad. Like, what we've all been feeling the entirety of season 2, where we get this whole Zuko's character arc where Iroh's making him less evil. So we're all along with her. We're like, okay, well, yeah, Zuko isn't a bad guy. And then he flat out goes back to being a bad guy. And then everyone, including Katara, is like, wait, what? The shock value and the betrayal feeling was there for Katara. And that's what, remember in the episode where Zuko's like, hey, I want to join you now.
Yeah.
And then, like, everyone's at first like, whoa, no, you're the bad guy. And then they, like, all pretty much eventually, okay, well, you're cool now.
Yeah,
Except for Katara.
Yeah,
Except for Katara. Until that episode of the Southern Raiders.
Where Katara basically does forgive Zuko. So I think I agree with you, John. I think because for me, Zutara is a ship that works in the sense that I think that they have chemistry together in terms of like as far as two human beings go that interact together, and as far as their friendship goes, I think they have a lot of chemistry. It's just not necessarily romantic.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Before Legend of Korra came out, what were your predictions? Before Legend of Korra, before The Search, before The Promise, what did you guys predict would happen after the 100-Year War with Team Avatar?
So, I mean, there were quite a few Zuko's mother theories out there that I found really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, apparently, like, there's this one that was basically like, oh, she helped Ozai to kill Azulon with the knife that Zuko has like the earth-bending engraving on it.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of evidence to support it, so I was like, oh,
I
maybe
think that's the one they finally went with.
No, they went with she poisons him, I think.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, that's in the comic. The
Search.
Yeah, I think it's The Search. Yeah.
But like for you, Slime, did you have anything like? Did you think anything was left unsolved? Did you have any hopes after ended?
Well, I mean, yeah, the whole Zuko's mother thing was obviously there because that's like literally like the last 5 minutes of.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait, what? Where are you going with it and why and all that? I didn't really expect anything to happen more. And I wasn't really closely following Korra. I didn't start watching Korra until like 2013, 2014. My point is that like, I think I read on the wiki once that like, oh, there's going to be like this new thing, Legend of Korra, like a special. It's going to talk about what happened after. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But that was like in 2011, 2010 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd completely forgotten about it. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like watch that. It was like, it was a good conclusion. There was an ending. That was that. I'm not saying that Korra is, excessive or anything like that, but, more on that later.
What does everyone think about the lion turtles?
As Anne's small child, I always thought they were very mysterious. Like, the whole, like, the
Energy
island is
bending?
there, and then it's gone, and it's what?
I guess what I'm getting at, more than just the lion turtles, is the energy bending that they keep saying.
For me, energy bending was kind of like an interesting mystical concept that made sense for me. Mm-hmm. Given like the Avatar, and of course, again, like I said, there was lots of fan theories. Several people came up with the idea that Aang would have actually reverse energy bended like a new nation of airbenders, as in like he would have used energy bending to give airbending to a bunch of people. So there was all sorts of funky stuff that people were coming up with at the time. But I thought that it worked. It was a little bit Deus Ex Machina-y, like people have said. I think that the whole Aang unlocking his chakra to go into the Avatar state, as awesome as that was in the finale, it was a little bit convenient. But it wasn't bad. It didn't ruin it for me. Same thing with the energy bending.
I didn't really have a problem with the Avatar state thing, because they spent a whole episode like explaining how that worked, and it felt like kind of a natural outgrowth of what we'd learned before about the Avatar. With the energy bending, I think it does make sense. It doesn't ruin the finale, but it seems like that and also the lion turtles should have been foreshadowed a little bit more, because as it is, it just feels like the writers got to the last episode and they said, hey, we can't have Aang kill
the Ozai.
We need to give him a third option. Okay, energy bending, done. It feels too convenient. I like that they give him a non-violent way to solve
and it's an interesting moral dilemma,
conflict,
right?
It gives him such an easy way out of the moral dilemma without really being explained beforehand. It makes it feel a little bit rushed.
Okay. Considering all the foreshadowing that they had done before in the series, right? How they'd set so many plot points up, right?
I think that more setting up with lion turtles could have been interesting, especially the roles that they play in Legend of Korra. But more on that next time. We're going to talk about Legend of Korra 2 weeks from now when you listen to this. But can I bring up one more point? My Cabbage's guy. Best character. Best character. And with that...
Not my cabbages.
My cabbage corp.
You're getting ahead of yourself, Slime.
Alright. So, goodbye, everyone.